In this video, I'm going to show you 9 ways how PEMF therapy can help you fight the coronavirus, and I'm going to share 10 prevention strategies beyond PEMF that you can also apply. Hello, this is Bryant Myers, author of PEMF, the Fifth Element of Health. I am a former physics professor and 25-year energy medicine researcher, and in this video we are going to talk about COVID-19 or the coronavirus, and it's probably going to be atypical, not what you're used to hearing, because I'm going to flip things upside down and talk more about the terrain instead of the germ, but we still need to talk a little bit about this coronavirus. So let me get right into it here. Now there's a website, ncov2019.live, where you can get live statistics. So COVID-19 stands for Coronavirus Disease 2019, labeled by the World Health Organization. The coronavirus is a very common virus. It's an RNA virus, which means it uses RNA instead of DNA, and it's the second most common cause of, say, the cold after the rhinovirus. So it's a very common virus, and the odds are most of you watching this video have had a coronavirus of one form or another. Now, these coronaviruses, also like the flu, are spread through airborne little droplets of water, and it's also spread through contact, like on surfaces, and also just being close to somebody that's sick. So what is unusual about COVID-19? Well, basically it's a mutated strain of coronavirus that supposedly came from Wuhan, China, in some market, and they believe that it was from a bat or a snake that might have gone through this pangolin little animal, and like the SARS and MERS virus, which was through bats and camels, it's supposedly jumped from animal to human through a mutation. And RNA viruses do mutate much more rapidly than DNA viruses, so the actual source, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories, and I won't get into them, but regardless of where it came from and whether it was genetically manipulated or not, it's still going to be similar to a flu virus. In fact, if you look at the statistics, there really are not that many deaths. It's about a maybe 2 to 3% mortality rate. So the coronavirus, there's a very high rate of survival. This is very important. So there's just way too much fear going on regarding this virus. And because it's not too much different than the flu virus as far as the effects that it has, and by the way, there's about 56,000 deaths a year due to the flu, and they usually affect elderly people and people with secondary diseases. Now, some of the symptoms are going to be similar to like getting the flu. So you get a fever, cough, aches and pains, diarrhea possibly, and in acute situations when things get really bad, you can even get shortness of breath and what's called ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. When acute respiratory distress syndrome happens, this is when it can start to become lethal, especially in elderly and people that are already sick. But this typically only happens in the acute situations. So let's take a look at how PEMF therapy can help with the coronavirus. In fact, it helps in 9 ways, and I want to kind of talk in broad terms. I'm going to put a link below this video if you want to see all the research studies on the immune system. I'm only going to bring up a couple here because I really want to drive home the main points. According to Ethel Hume in a book about Louis Pasteur, on his deathbed, Louis Pasteur said, "Bernard was correct, I was wrong. The microbe is nothing, the terrain is everything." The microbe being the germ. So what did he mean by that? Well, what he meant was Claude Bernard's idea of the terrain theory of disease. And we can kind of illustrate that with this little fishbowl analogy. So if you have a fish in a fish tank that's sick, you might say, let's sprinkle some antibiotics in there, try to kill off the mold or the bacteria that are overgrowing. So that's kind of attacking the disease from the germ theory, using antibiotics. Or you could just maybe wrap the fish in a little bag, and that would be kind of like vaccinating the fish. But Bernard was like, well, why don't we just clean out the fish tank? I mean, doesn't that make more sense? So if you clean out the tank, you are not going to have any overgrowth of mold or bacteria. So doesn't it make sense? This terrain theory is just not talked about enough. And I'm not saying that the germ is absolutely nothing, but it's kind of the host resistance with the terrain plus the germ is how we get sick or don't get sick. So the first 6 tips on how PEMF can help this terrain idea. So first and foremost, PEMF therapy increases microcirculation. And there's many studies on this, mainly through the mechanism of increasing nitric oxide, lowering the surface tension of the blood, and also helping to dissipate the Rouleau effect. So by improving microcirculation, we're going to help the body to get oxygen in and waste products out. Again, keeping our fishbowl clean. The second thing is PEMF therapy increases cellular voltage. Now this is really big because when your body and cells, including your immune cells, have more energy, your body is going to be more resistant to any type of infection. So I want to talk about a study in 1986 by Winters, Brune, and Darnell, where they found that PEMF therapy helped with cellular resistance to viral injection. So viruses have to penetrate into your cells, and they basically hijack your DNA to replicate. So by increasing cell voltage, it's kind of like shields up in Star Trek, right? I mean, this is huge. I read through lots of studies on PEMF therapy and the immune system, and this one really just jumped out at me. I'm like, I got goosebumps. I'm like, wow. This is how PEMF can really help with the coronavirus, because if we can keep our cells energized, then the viruses, they can't even penetrate. And if they can't penetrate and just float around your bloodstream, they can't replicate. And if they can't replicate, they die. Now, PEMF therapy has been shown over and over to help with oxygenation. And we used to do, back in the early demonstrations, little pulse oximeter demonstrations, where we would see a 2% or sometimes 3% increase in partial pressure oxygen, which is huge. If you have a low level oxygen on a pulse oximeter, a 2 to 3% increase is really, really significant. So by increasing oxygen, a lot of these microbes just hate oxygen, and they're anaerobic, right? Now, in the case of viruses, the oxygen is just going into keeping your terrain clean, because again, oxygen kind of has a very disinfectant property. And when we're improving blood level oxygen, it goes hand in hand with microcirculation. So next, number 4, PEMF helps to detox the body. And it does this in many ways, mainly through improving lymphatic flow and liver function and kidney function, but also it works with the skin and the lungs and all your organs of elimination. So by getting rid of a lot of the toxins and bacteria and viruses that come into our body naturally, again, we keep our fishbowl clean and pristine. Number 5, PEMF helps with stress and sleep. So it is well known that when we're stressed and we don't get enough sleep, our immune system gets compromised. And when our immune system gets compromised, we can't fight infection as well. Okay, so that's kind of the terrain. Now I want to talk about how PEMF therapy now increases the immune system. And it does so in 3 ways. Number 1, PEMF increases stem cells, as I've talked about in other videos. And by increasing the production of stem cells, which then can be differentiated into immune system cells, you're basically increasing the number of lymphocytes, which are white blood cells or immune cells. Now, the next thing that PEMF helps is that it actually increases or enhances immunity. Now, this comes from all the things we've talked about. By giving your immune cells more energy, more oxygen, they can run around and perform better. I want to show you just a short little video clip of this little neutrophil chasing down a bacteria. This is, in this case, is a Staphylococcus aureus bacteria. And he chases it through chemotaxis and through like a vibrational sensitivity. And you can see the bacteria turns right, and then the neutrophil will turn right with him. And finally, at the very end, you can see here through phagocytosis, the neutrophil then just engulfs the bacteria and eats it. So now, a couple things about that little video I just showed here. It's really, really important. Really take this to heart. Those immune cells need energy, okay? They need oxygen. They need cell voltage. They need good circulation, meaning if your blood is thick or your lymph is stagnant, that's kind of like troops going through the marsh, right, in Vietnam. The army, as a metaphor, travels a lot faster on dry land than in the marshes. So by keeping your microcirculation and your body detox, which is what PEMF helps, your immune cells will be able to move around better. And also good hydration. This is why you want to drink a lot of water, to keep your blood, everything flowing well. And finally, PEMF helps to increase immune communication. And this is through cytokines, interleukin, etc. So PEMF is increasing the number of immune cells. It's helping those immune cells to perform better, and it's helping them to communicate better, because whenever you have an infection, all your immune cells have to communicate with each other so they can synchronize a coordinated defense. So now I want to talk about 10 common sense things you can do to help prevent the coronavirus beyond just PEMF therapy. So number 1, and you may have heard a lot of this already, I just want to reiterate it to help, sometimes repetition is a great teacher. So first and foremost is hygiene. Obviously wash your hands with at least a 60% alcohol type of disinfectant. And of course try to find one as natural as possible, but you really have to be careful, especially when you go into a public restroom, public transportation, like anything like a hospital or like a gym, or like places where people are sick, like in pharmacies, etc. Or any public place where you're touching any doors or things, just try to keep those wipes with you wherever you go. Now, another thing, as you probably heard, is don't touch your face. So try to just not touch your face, because again, these are contact type of viruses that are transmitted by contact or through the air. Now, you can go to the website I mentioned and see if there's any outbreak in your area, but obviously if it does get bad, which I'm not sure that I think it will, but try to avoid crowds as much as possible. Obviously, limit contact with anybody that's sick. Even if they just have the flu and you're not sure, just try to avoid contact. Now, this is really big. Drink lots of water. Now, that little Nutrifile video I showed, that Nutrifile needs hydration to move around. So your immune system definitely works better when you're hydrated. Now, one study showed that just spending time outdoors in the fresh air helped to improve immunity, and there's probably been other studies on that as well. Now, this is big. Get plenty of sleep, because your immune system and your body heals and regenerates during deep sleep. And if you're not sleeping at least 6.5 to 7 hours a night, ideally 8 or more if you're sick, then you're just not going to properly heal and your immune system just can't do its job. So again, PMF therapy, as I've talked about in other videos, does help with better sleep. And along with sleep, just relax. Don't get all stressed out, because when your body's relaxed and in parasympathetic, your immune system functions better. So it's really important to stay relaxed. And PMF therapy has been shown to help to calm and relax the central nervous system, and it gives you very much a parasympathetic response. Number 7 is to eat clean food, and especially reduce your amount of sugar, because I heard one doctor talk about how when you increase your sugar intake, your immune system can drop by as much as 50%, especially if you get like 50 grams or more of sugar. So we don't want to be doing things that are going to lower our immunity. And sugar is a big culprit when it comes to diet. You're better off just eating more whole foods, mostly plant-based foods, and you can make some soups or broths that are very healing as well. Like this ginseng broth that Dr. Schultz also recommends. You can do a Google search for that and you'll see the recipe. And also medicinal herbs and teas, astragalus, echinacea, vitamin C. There's a lot of herbs that are known to enhance or boost the immune system. And just do a little research, look into that. I also like colloidal silver and oregano. Now, there's other forms of energy medicine that can help fight infections too. One that's really good is just a good infrared sauna. So if you have a good sauna, again, make sure you stay well hydrated, but that's another good thing to add. Also, like rebounding or whole body vibration gets the lymph moving. Anything that lymphocytes or gets the lymph moving is going to enhance your immune system, because remember, your immune system resides primarily, in the lymph nodes and the lymph. Any type of exercise or practice that can enhance your lymphatic system is going to help your immunity. And skin brushing, by the way, helps with that too, so that's something else to add. And down here, I just put be prepared. It's not a bad idea to have some food storage, water storage, backup generator, all those emergency essentials that many people talk about. And while I personally don't like to get into a fear or panic mode, I do have quite a bit of food storage and water storage, and I'm just prepared. So by being prepared, it actually helps you to be less fearful, because you're prepared. And again, if things do get bad, which honestly I don't think they will, but who knows, they might. You're going to probably want to stay home and work from home as much as possible, and not have to go out. If you've got a good food storage, you can stay at home and not risk any type of contamination. So again, not to be fearful, but be prepared. And just relax. In conclusion, I really don't think this is a major threat, especially when we see how many survivors there are versus how many actually die. But it's still good to be prepared. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel. I have many more videos coming, and leave some comments. I'd like to hear what